Good morning. Welcome to another Friday morning with the Gimbal team. I hope you guys are well.
Nice work getting the safety disclaimers up there. Safety is no accident.
We were having a conversation about safety at our family dinner Wednesday night. There's a book out there, like 50 adventures or 50 risky things for kids. And my daughter Kelly was reading through it, and they really weren't that risky. Like, I feel like we were risking life and limb when I was a kid, but the one that stressed everybody out that came to dinner was to lick a 9-volt battery.
Oh yeah. I mean,
That's not risky, is it?
no, that's just a great deal. The only thing risky that I can think of back in my day was in my backyard, Muncie, Indiana. There were two things. One was a chain link fence. And you climb the chain link fence, and there's a good chance that you're going to snag a pant leg or pants leg on like the tip of the fence, and you're going to fall over, knock the wind out of yourself. But the real risky one was when we were playing football. There was like what would it be called, a guide wire?
Oh yeah.
That came down from the telephone pole, and it had a yellow sleeve on it for your protection. But that was probably the riskiest business in the streets backyard.
Now, I'm a few years older, so it was normal growing up in the 60s that somebody in your small circle had a cast. Like that was just ordinary. It wasn't like if somebody had a cast, it didn't even really create conversation.
Yeah, and those are old school casts that you could actually sign.
Oh, yeah. I don't see a lot of casts anymore, do you?
No. No, and I like to think that our kids push the limits on that, but
yeah, I don't know. Maybe we didn't drink enough milk. I don't know.
I don't know.
The 1978. I'm dating myself.
That's the year of the blizzard.
I was living dangerously. 1978. Might have been 79. It was in that range. I was driving a Pinto.
I was 3.
I ran that Pinto into a guide wire.
You did?
I did.
Was it the big door or the little door?
The front end.
Didn't that thing have like a big door and a little door? Like the passenger side door was bigger or something like that?
I don't remember. I can't remember if we had a 2-door or 4-door, but
car guy, check us out, man.
Yeah, so it bent the telephone. I hit it hard enough, it bent the telephone pole, blew out the transformer. People were screaming, blacked out the strip mall, and I was traumatized. So it probably took a week to get the blood back to my face, but there are dangerous things out there you guys can do. I don't know.
That's actually really dangerous.
Oh yeah, that was.
You get out of your car, you get electrocuted.
Yeah, no, I don't remember what happened, but it was traumatizing. But yeah, life can be dangerous and it can be safe, but we'd encourage you to live a little bit more dangerously than staying on your sofa all the time. How's that?
Gosh, I hope so.
Yeah. Well, I think
we
I think
together in a while.
No, we've both been doing a little traveling, and it's good to see you.
I'd like to encourage you guys to do a little traveling. Like both of us hung out with dudes.
Yeah,
that's what we've been doing. We've been hanging out with dudes.
Yeah,
and the benefit to that is you get to see that life's going to be okay, because you'll see how other people live and that they've made it. You'll hear their stories. It's pretty inspiring.
The dudes I was hanging out with, one has been in construction his whole life, so that's just a lot of danger. I don't know what he's an electrician. He's probably shocked himself 100 times. Another one was kicking doors down in Baghdad in 2003 with a machine gun. Another one was landing fighter planes on an aircraft carrier back in 2000. No, 1990, probably 91. Another was a chemist. Who knows what kind of stuff he's had on his body. And then there was me. I felt like the chill dude in the group, but it was really fun to be around people that have lived adventures in a variety of different ways. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Where's mine? Let's see here. What else do we need to talk about today, Douglas?
I mean, I'm really looking forward to talking about the stock markets.
Well, I think we need to let it sink in.
That what? What are you talking about?
You haven't seen the video?
Oh,
let this
gosh.
sink in.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I forgot about our friend Elon. And there for a while, we mentioned Elon. I don't know if it was weekly, but it was regularly about his contributions. Let it be known that, yeah, he walked into Twitter headquarters with a sink, right? And he took a tweet picture. I don't know how you describe a tweet. He took a tweet, he made a tweet, and it was him walking in with a sink. So yeah, it's going to shake things up. I personally, I think it's fascinating that someone could own that.
Well, I mean, he overpaid, right? I mean, he admits he overpaid.
Who knows?
Yeah,
We'll see.
he overpaid.
We'll know.
Yeah, which is crazy. I'm gonna overpay intentionally. And I don't know if you read what he sent to the advertisers or not, but
No.
he told the advertisers he wants to have a platform where both sides of an argument can be made in a civil manner. And really, I've tried to be objective over the last 5 years myself and kind of considering things, but you can't really get too much objective news out there. So we'll see if he has any success with
I
it.
just think it's cool that, and you know, I realize this stuff is self-serving and all that, but he's got some change the world type goals and visions. Now, do you line up with him? Do I line up with him? I don't know, but I like that he's able to think on that grandiose of a scale. Like, hey, this could really change the world, and you know, we could get into that. Like, I've got some change the world type stuff. It's like hanging out with one man at a time type thing.
Yeah.
But his are huge.
Yeah, I was watching earlier in the week of a video of Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle talking about Elon Musk, and I think those are both pretty intelligent people, and they can't even understand how he would even talk to them. Like he's only using one small fragment of his brain to talk to them, and they think he's solving other world problems while he's talking to them. Right. So anyway, that'll be interesting to watch. And he already walked the top 3 executives out the front door because as he was requesting information in order to buy it, they wouldn't supply it to him, and he's like, guess you're unemployed now. So
some fascinating stuff. Twitter things pretty fascinating. I think the elections going on right now are pretty fascinating. It's not only here in Brazil, there's some elections going on that are kind of fascinating. And so, yeah, I mean, we're living in uncharted territory.
I saw a data point this week, and I agree with it. 63% of the people that were polled said they did not believe that Congress men or women should be allowed to invest in the stock market.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they could invest. I think they could invest in like presidents, when they take over, they have to turn over their investments to like a blind pool where they don't have any, but Congress doesn't do that. And there was really, in my opinion, treasonous acts going on in the 2008 market where they were selling the market short when they had information about what they were going to do. So as the election comes up, I think that's a worthwhile thing, that even if it's your representative that was kind of trading on inside information in the market, I think they need to get the pink slip that Elon passed out on your vote. I don't care who it is.
The blind pool is interesting, and we would encourage any congressperson, if you want to do a blind pool, we'd be happy to manage your money for you.
Absolutely. We don't, and we don't care which side of the aisle. If you're independent, we'll take your blind pool. I always think it's fascinating how wealthy they get when they start off with nobodies, but
I don't even want to go there.
Well, let's one of the things while I was on the road, I was pondering the difference between the word technology and ingenuity. Okay. And we had this kind of serendipitous event. I was the co-pilot at this point in time, and the goal was for me to find us some Vermont syrup so everybody could take some home.
Appreciated that goal.
And John, our driver, was explaining to me that they no longer tap the tree with these little metal taps that have a hook on it, and then the syrup, not the syrup, the whatever the pre-syrup stuff is, comes out into a bucket from the tap.
My neighbors must be doing it old school. That's how they do it.
Yeah, and well, the next generation was they put these plastic bags on those. and then plastic bags. Now they take a rubber tube like you would have like in a hospital or something, where they have a rubber tube feeding medicine or whatever. They take those rubber tubes, tap the tree, it goes into that rubber tube. Then they have little T's where they connect those rubber tubes to other rubber tubes, which keep getting bigger. So they have the whole forest tapped with those rubber tubes.
It's like fracking the trees.
Exactly. And it comes into one pipe. In the store we bought it from, it comes into a pipe right by the entrance of the store. So they just go to the, yeah. And let me see if I can show you a picture of it. It's kind of interesting in my opinion. Let me get over there real quick. And what I learned at this store was how amazingly, here's the picture. Let's see here. Is it going to come into our internet slows down when we do this, and we don't get the best resolution on things. And so it may not do it, but here we're in this self-serve maple syrup store, and they got this, you can't see it right now because the resolution's not coming up, but this this hole's here where you put your money to pay for your syrup. It's all here. Yeah. And then right outside the door behind my friend John here was that tube where all the syrup from the whole forest comes. So they literally just outside the doors where they get it, and then they can start their.
You can just carry your pancakes over.
Yeah. And then this was the, well, there's John looking at the rubber tubes like I was telling you right there. I can't remember which way I go here. There's us eating.
Careful.
You know? Oh, there we go. I got better resolution. So here,
Dangerously.
yeah, this is our friend Gene. So here is what a tree that has been tapped looks like. These black-ish, whatever color that is, little things where they had drilled a tap into the tree, and this tree had evidently died, but they put this on the wall so you can see the greenness of this process. Each one of these little marks here was a tap, and you can see that this tree has produced the sap that produced the syrup probably, I bet 50 times. That's over the life of it, which is kind of cool. But the ingenuity to get us to the point where you could just connect the trees with those rubber tubes, I thought was pretty fascinating. That's the kind of stuff that encourages me about the American economy.
I mean, that's the type of stuff that caused us to drive out to Midland, Odessa a few years ago. We just drove out there in an RV, and we really had a mission. The mission was to see what's happening. We weren't investing in it. We were just curious how American entrepreneur individualism, creative thinking works, and it was a lot of fun.
On that trip, that we had just a really kind, generous man that took us on a tour and took his time away from the busyness of it. And we sent him a check for his time, and he never cashed it because he was making so much money. And with the check, I wrote him a letter and encouraged him to sell part of his real estate holdings because this boom had shot up so much. But the other interesting thing about it was we stopped by a local pawn shop. I don't even if you remember it. And this is just an old guy running that thing. Yeah. And his attitude was, I've seen these booms and busts so many times, I don't even get excited by them anymore. And subsequent to us going there, it was probably a year or two ago when Texas crude oil was selling for $0.
Right.
Yeah. So that fellow that wouldn't cash our check that I encouraged, he wasn't accustomed to the booms or busts as much as the old pawn shop guy was. So it was really interesting. What else, Douglas?
Talk about your total stock watch there.
All right, this is our one of our research companies went on neutral today. But they've been on sell alert and don't touch stocks, and so today they went neutral, which is kind of a bullish sign. This is really interesting because one of the stocks that, so we hit a peak in the database of 9708 of stocks that were in our database. It's dropped from that level to 9686 for a variety of different reasons, buyouts, takeovers. Twitter will probably drop off of that database here in the days ahead. So that can be somewhat bullish, I think, if you go into a year like this year where there's not been many IPOs, initial public offerings, and part of the reason there's probably some reduction there is that when the prices get hit really badly, like the time to go buy that real estate in Midland was when the crude oil is $0, right? Mm-hmm. And so when that number starts dropping, it's going to suggest that there's been even corporations out there buying stocks and doing takeovers. And that's probably a good time for us to start buying things for you all as well. The stocks in the yellow here, in case you haven't joined us before, those indicate where that moving average is more than half of them are below that. So there's still almost 7,000 below the 200-day moving average. There's 5,700 below their 50-day. But the short term, all of a sudden we're seeing a rally there in the short term holdings there. So that gives us kind of probably indication why our research went to neutral today.
Yeah, it's good to see that there are not as many stocks like on the S&P 500 making new lows. That's been encouraging.
You want to talk about the markets and what they look like?
Which one do you want to?
Let's look at the S&P here. I'll share that screen with you all.
So the S&P 500, again, just 500 of the largest stocks in America. These are typically global brands that are doing business all over the world. Their profit margins are being affected by things like currencies and buying trends, inflation, in several other countries. And so this is a great lens to look at the stock market. And here in the last couple of days, really since last Friday, things have started to look a little better. And it's kind of reminiscent of what was happening in July of last year. We started to have, or this year, we're starting to have a little bit of uptick in price, and it's been great. We're still well under the 200, I think, what, 7% or so. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Yep. So we're still under the 200. Normally, Keith and I like to see prices above the 200-day, but in order to get there, we got to have a start.
Yeah, we have to get over the 50-day, which is this red line that I put drew a long line to touch to this 50-day.
Which red line? You got a bunch of red
lines.
lines.
This is the 50-day right here at this 38.29 level, right where the market is today. And I drew this red line to point that out to you, the significance of that, because we were talking about back here, this is probably August, we were talking about like what's going to happen when this thing gets up to the 200-day. And it was like a dog ran out in front of a car or something. They put the brakes on and it literally stopped on the 200-day. Well, here we're at the 50-day, and the next couple of days will tell us if we're going to retest. I think I'm just giving an opinion here. It'll tell whether we're going to be able to move past that 50-day moving average, or we're going to retreat back towards the low we hit a few weeks ago. But
the S&P 500 is a nice blend of different companies inside of it too. Like whereas the NASDAQ is probably a little bit more tech oriented, and you can see it hasn't come up to that red line that Keith was talking about. It hasn't made it yet. And so the tech type stocks, they've had a mixed week, but it's been tough. I mean, if you missed earnings, if you didn't come home on time for dinner, you got some.
I'm glad you led me there.
I didn't know you had all those charts.
No, I have been.
It's been again, stock market never gets boring to me. Like this week has just been, it's like, okay, there are reasons why you want to be careful owning stocks.
It is dangerous out there, and it's more dangerous than licking a 9-volt if you're going to buy individual stocks. And I'm going to coin a new term today. I think if you all will watch the media going forward, you'll know you heard it first here. Okay. If you Google the internet, Lamont Sleets supposedly invented the high five, and he's from my alma mater, Murray State, but you have to dig a little deeper to find out that's not true.
Okay, give me that name one more time.
Lamont, Lamont Sleets.
Okay, thanks.
And they give him credit, but you gotta, so this you'll know was invented today. Okay, so you can give me credit for it, but many months in the past we've talked about the FANG stocks, right?
FANG stocks. Okay, let's think about that. Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix, Google. Am I leaving anyone out?
I'll put NVIDIA in there. They kind of,
NVIDIA.
and Microsoft doesn't really fit the acronym, but it's one that I looked at. So the FANG stocks are the ones Doug was talking about, that they have just been punished. And so I'm just gonna give you from their high.
Click off the chart there for a second.
Okay,
So you can look at you when you're talking.
yeah, so from the high, and I'm gonna go through these. This one is down 75% to its low. This one's down 30%. This one's down 48%. This one's down 73%. This one's down 69%. This one's down 40%. This one's down 40%, and this one's down 38%. And if you look at, hopefully you can't see this one, but if you look at this slope down here, I was showing this to my son Caleb last night. I go, doesn't that remind you of a slide? It's like you don't go back up the steps very quickly on those things. And so here's the new term. You ready? The FANG stocks have transformed to the mangled stocks.
They're definitely mangled.
Facebook is now known as Meta and Meta platforms. And so you take the F and put the M and you got the mangled few.
Okay.
And
I was listening on the radio, like on the real radio, like because I have an old car, and they had some professor on from IU, and he was talking about how now is a great time to buy Facebook, and I was like, I mean, who knows, right? We're not recommending you do anything with it, but I mean, it's like, oh my goodness, like how could you come out and say, yeah, this is it right now?
well, we're not recommending. You mind if I show you a quick picture of where I'm sure people have said that and where the behavior of the stock suggests that's not true. This was February the 3rd. It dropped from 328 to close at 237 that day. 328, 237. And I'm sure there were a lot of people saying that
Oh yeah,
then, right?
yeah. This is turning into a serial gapper.
And this, so it is like, what was that saying you heard? Don't be sore, buy some more.
Yeah,
So
that's back in the old days. That's what I learned early on in this business. Is don't be sore, buy some more.
yeah. So had you bought some more
Huh?
at 238, today you can see you can buy all you want right at 100. And I just don't know that would be the wise decision. And maybe it'll pan out.
And I don't know what Facebook makes up, like on the NASDAQ, what their percentage is. But
I do. I know this, Douglas. I've
okay, let's hear it. I know
I-
Apple. We were looking up Apple yesterday.
when I was curious, and I had to go to the library to check this out for y'all because I couldn't figure it out, and they couldn't really help me. And I finally got it figured out. So I'm going back.
You walked into the library?
I went literally into the library because I couldn't figure out how to do what I wanted to do on the net on their
That's awesome. I bet you made their day.
no, they were distraught because they're like, this guy's making me work. And
Okay.
yeah, so I'm sorry, Fisher's Library.
We love
Yeah. Yeah, so Facebook, as of now, this is a day or so ago, 1.7%. I'm doing the NASDAQ.
Okay.
They're weighting.
Yeah.
So like if you took my feet and they're like 7% of my total weight, but my belly is, get in my belly, it's probably 25% of my total weight. I don't know. That's how that's
sermon illustrations from Keith Tyner.
so if you're saying of the index, if there's, I don't know how many are in the NASDAQ, is it
3,500.
3,500? They are, you don't take those and divide it by 3,500. These stocks that we're talking about represent probably 35 to 40% of the value.
Yeah.
And so Facebook is now at 2%, 1.7. A year ago, it's 3.5.
Yeah.
Apple is 10.7. It was 10%. So it's held up better than the rest.
Yeah.
So when they drop, it means their prices dropped and other stocks are getting higher weighting on that. They're eating the food that Facebook used to eat. They're getting that food being dollars
What
from
was
investors.
Apple a year ago?
10%. It's
And-
10.7.
Okay.
So it's held its
right.
own relative to the
Okay,
market.
I think it's like 7 on the S&P.
That's right. Yeah. 7 is right. I couldn't find the S&P on my notes, so I was. Netflix is 0.5%. It was 1.2% of the index a year ago. Google has 2 stocks. I think they're different share classes. One is 6.2, one was 6.1. A year ago, they were 7.1 each.
This week.
Yeah, and that stock is well, whatever. Microsoft was 9.1 a year ago, it's 8.3 now. And then Amazon was 7.1, and it was 5.6 as of yesterday. And I think it's got taken out to the woodshed today. Yeah, it's down 11% today. So
And so like when you hear about this, guys, when you hear about a stock price, like, these are favorites. These are favorite stocks, they're favorite companies. I mean, how often do you have an Amazon truck pull into your driveway or to your neighbor's driveway? Every day, if you're my family. I mean, we get like soup delivered and stuff like that. And so the thought is, hey, this stuff, everybody's using it. Just hang in there. But the problem is that these companies, they just go through cycles, even though your usability stays the same or even increases. They're going through cycles. And right now it's been tough.
one of those delivery companies that used to come to your house all the time before Amazon started kind of swallowing up some of that business, when it had a gap that somebody would say, don't be sore, buy some more, it dropped from 205 to the next day it dropped to 161.
So that means literally it closed at a price that was higher, and then opened up like 9:30 a.m. You're drinking your coffee, and it's much lower, 20% lower.
Yeah, and so it closed back in September the 16th at 161. And had you bought some just because somebody, professor or whoever said that, it's at 157 today.
And there's been some gaps on the upside too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in earnings season. This was a very important week of earnings, company reporting their results. And we've had some good results too, but we're highlighting these because these are like meaningful names that have meaningful percentages within their indices.
Yeah, it does, like with our research going to neutral, that doesn't mean go buy with both fists, because a safer market to invest in, and our market's never really safe, but we've looked at the VIX before. We told you about volatility.
So type in the VIX, and
yeah. And when the VIX is volatile, then it means that your stock ownership is going to be a riskier pursuit, and consequently, when stocks are dropping 20 and 10 and 15% in a single day, it's not the easiest time to be an investor.
Keith, look on the right side of that. The last couple of days have started to tighten up a little bit, which that's good to see. But I want to highlight this. This is the VIX of the NASDAQ. Type in 0 VXN. And do you see those really long lines? Those are the things that make me bite my nails, is when I see long vertical lines, because that means that the buyers and sellers, they can't settle on a price.
That's Disney World to me. That's why my kids never go to Disney World. I don't like long lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we go back to, let's punch in and see what it looked like in 2020.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. See this over here? This is what the VIX on the NASDAQ looked like before COVID, right? This is pre-COVID over here. And maybe if I take, I mean, you see what happened with the lockdown that our government put us in. But if I go to 19 here, I think we're having too much fun. We're getting ready to run out of time.
I know.
We had a little bit of volatility in 19. Let's go back here to 18. And you can see how it tightened up through some of these times. And so volatility is not, it's not the investor's friend, I don't think, because when you get your statements, you don't want to see I don't think you do, your statements swinging broadly. And when the market is showing us that kind of thing, that's not the easiest way to be a kind of an investor where you hold on to things.
Let's talk quick observation on money markets. It's been good to see some money market rates coming back up. And one of the chief reasons that Gimbal Financial made the move that we did this year was for the money market rate. I mean, it's like a small detail, but it's a detail that stacks over time. And it's been good to see the money market rates coming up and being competitive. Now I know that it's not a great long-term strategy, and inflation is probably 10% higher. Your cereal, your poultry, all that stuff, but nevertheless, the savers have not been rewarded for anything in a long time, and I'm happy to see it.
You don't know it, but you called me Grandma Lloyd a while ago.
What?
Yeah, you
Who's
used
that?
another person's name, but you know, I've never talked about Grandma Lloyd, but I'd get in her big old gold colored Cadillac and go from bank to bank to bank with her.
Oh,
And she'd get in there with the
okay.
branch manager and arm wrestle
Yeah,
with them. And
yeah.
I personally was looking at our money markets and said, I'm gonna have to move some money to our money market. I already had some there, but it was enough to reward the Tiners for moving some money over to us. So
Yeah, it's just been really good. And well, we're kind of out of time. Maybe I'll talk about bonds next week.
all right, you guys have a great weekend and get outside and enjoy it.